It was winter when everything happened. The kind of winter where the cold feels heavy and the silence stretches on just a little too long. I've always lived a pretty quiet life, and part of that comes from the fact that I'm hard of hearing. It's something I've learned to adapt to, but there are still moments when I wonder what I might be missing. Sounds, warnings, or little signs that something isn't right. This story starts about a year ago, just after the holidays. I live in a small, quiet suburban neighborhood in southern Quebec, right on the edge of a massive forest. It's the kind of place where it's peaceful, familiar, and most people know each other. That sense of familiarity always made me feel safe, maybe even a little too safe. In the winter, I often take my dog, Monty, for walks through the forest trails. He's a Rottweiler-Husky mix, just a big ball of energy, and he's the perfect companion for long walks and runs. One afternoon in February, right after lunch, I decided to take him out. Fresh snow had fallen overnight, covering the trails like a blank canvas. As usual, I let Monty off his leash. There were some footprints here and there, signs that other people had been out earlier. But by that time of day, most of them were already home. After about 30 minutes of walking, we reached a fork in the trail. One path was completely untouched, covered in pristine snow. Feeling a bit adventurous, I decided to take it. I knew this forest like the back of my hand, so I wasn't worried. The path eventually opened into a clearing, and I stopped to use the new binoculars I'd gotten for Christmas. As I scanned the tree line, I noticed something strange. It was a blue tarp, partially hidden among the trees. It looked like some kind of makeshift shelter. I was curious, but I was also aware that it was starting to get dark, so I decided it was time to head home. And that's when Monty's behavior completely changed. He was suddenly on high alert, tense, sniffing the ground constantly. Primera looked down and my heart just froze. There were large footprints in the snow, way bigger than mine. I turned my own boot over to compare them. They didn't match. And here's the creepy part. There were no other forks on that trail. Whoever made those prints had to have passed me at some point. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they just walked by while I was distracted with my binoculars. Still, something felt really wrong. As the light faded, Monty suddenly stopped dead in his tracks and let out a violent bark right behind me. He spun around, and there he was, a tall man, maybe 6'4", standing barely a meter away from me. He wore dark snow pants and a white camouflage jacket. His hands were stuffed in his pockets. He didn't move. He didn't approach me. He just stood there, staring. His lips moved like he was speaking, but I couldn't hear a single sound. And in the dim light, I couldn't read his lips clearly either. I tried to gesture that I was hard of hearing and pointed at my watch to show it was getting late. Eventually, I just walked away, my heart racing, with Monty glued to my side. I got home around 4:30, went through my usual routine, and tried my best to put the whole thing out of my mind before going to bed. But at 3 a.m., Monty woke me up by licking my hand, something he only ever does in the morning to wake me for breakfast. I checked my phone and saw a text from my neighbor. She was asking if everything was okay because Monty had been barking nonstop. That's when I realized Monty wasn't in my room. I went downstairs and found him barking hysterically at the patio door. The motion light outside flickered on, and my vision was blurry, but I could see him. The man from the forest was standing in my backyard. I didn't hesitate. I stepped back from the door, texted 911, and ran upstairs to grab the machete I keep under my bed for protection. I locked myself and Monty in my bedroom. I could hear movement downstairs. A shadow appeared under my bedroom door. Monty was growling like I had never heard him growl before. I was convinced the door was going to break at any second, but it didn't. When the police finally arrived, they found the patio glass shattered and the backyard gate wide open, the gate that leads directly into the forest. The man was gone. I told him about the shelter I'd seen earlier, but I never heard back from them about it. I stayed with a friend for a few days, too terrified to be alone. After that, I stopped walking in the forest. Completely. You'd think that would be the end of it. But months later, another winter incident shook me just as deeply. My youngest sister and I went to the movies one afternoon. During the film, I got a text from my dad asking us to bring him some lunch at his work site, which was out in the woods. It seemed normal, so we didn't question it. When we arrived, my dad didn't answer our calls. He only replied by text. He told us to meet him down by the lake. As the sun began to set, we saw a man sitting with his back to us. We thought it was him. It wasn't. The man turned around, smiling, and he was holding my dad's phone. The next thing I knew, he grabbed my sister, and we just ran. Somehow, we managed to escape. The police later recovered the phone, but it didn't stop him. Hours later, the man messaged me again, this time describing my house in detail. Then, he showed up outside with a gun. Later, we found an AirTag hidden on my car. He was never caught. The last incident happened during a heavy snowstorm. I was driving home late from a family gathering and crashed my car on a deserted forest road. While I was waiting for help to arrive, I heard footsteps crunching in the snow outside. Then, something slammed against my car. I looked out and saw boot prints circling the vehicle, and there was a trail of blood leading into the woods. Against my better judgment, I followed the tracks and found a mutilated deer. When I got back to my car, the deer's severed head was sitting in my driver's seat. By the time help arrived, it was gone. To this day, I don't know who was out there or why they were tormenting me. All I know is that winter has never felt quiet again. It feels loud now, full of threats I can't hear but can definitely feel. Thanks for listening to my story. Stay safe out there.